welcome back to GGC Outdoors, everybody. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a food plot update, along with showing you how we set up these food plots to try to get these deer to come in, feel comfortable coming out during the daylight and stuff like that, and also using some trim work to create these natural funnels for these deer to come down. That way we kind of predict where they're going to come from. But behind me here is going to be food plot A. A lot of these farmers and a lot of people who have leases or private property, you're going to see a lot of these fields be road edge fields and very open to the road. Now, deer will come out into these fields, but usually at last light because they have to cross a giant open field to get here. Last year we dealt with that a lot, and that caused us to miss some opportunities. So this year I wanted to kind of change that game a little bit and offer some more screen cover for these deer to feel comfortable to pop out here during the daylight. And I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. Alrighty, as you see here, I have a row of corn all around the edge of this field. Now, it doesn't look like much, but if you look across the field, you will see 10-foot tall corn going all the way down the edge of the field. And inside the middle of this here, out here, is going to be beans and winter peas. Winter peas are left over from a food plot we did last year, and they came back. They're glyphosate resistant. The beans are glyphosate resistant, and the corn's Roundup Ready, which is glyphosate resistant. Now, this whole edge, just on the other side, that little thin tree line going all the way down, you'll see the poles. That's where the road comes into play. Last year, we had quite a bit of deer coming out here, but it was too close to the edge of dark, just past shooting light, and they kind of hung up there outside the edge of the field. That way they had the quickest to pop across the street for cover. And the only time we really had deer come over this way is if they're popping out of these paths that we created outside this field here, and or the car scared them over towards us. This year I went in and planted corn to kind of encapsulate this center food plot here, and beans were planted in here. I let them get about 6 to 8 inches tall, and we sprayed them with glyphosate. As you can see here, it did pretty good. And you'll see all these peas going across the ground, but you'll see all the beans in the rows. I'm going to go ahead and plant in here some radishes and sugar beets, and I think there's some turnips in this mix as well, to give them some late fall, early winter food source. These beans are good until they're yellow, and then they'll get off of them and wait till they turn brown in the winter, and they'll be back on them eating the bean pods. So in that transition, I want them to have a food source over here outside of the natural browse that are along the outside of this field. But I want them to have something to eat. So I'm going to come in here and plant sugar beets and radishes and the turnips. That way they have the tops to eat during the early to late fall, and they'll dig up the bulbs in the winter to have some nutrients. Along with that, we went in with our clipper and created these natural funnels. Well, they're going to be natural. They're not natural right this second, but we found out that deer are kind of lazy creatures. They have the option to walk through stuff like this or walk down this giant yellow brick road. Trust me, they're going to take this road, guys. And as you can see here, I mean, it's absolutely tore up with deer sign. And I'm going to show you in the back of this path what they're doing. Get over here. So you can see here, this is one path they're taking to go across this creek. Another one is down that way. Field is in the V of a road, so kind of in the crotch of a road, and there's road that surrounds both sides of it. But on the side behind me here is where a creek runs. It's actually a river, but it's a small river. But it runs, and there's an oxbow in the back here, and it's all thick, as you see here. I mean, it is thick as thick gets. But these deer are holding up. They're bedding up by a pond, and when them thermals drop, they're sucking down this hill, and they're going to go across this creek, and they're crossing the back over there, and they're crossing right here, and they're following the thermals down the hill into this food source. That's why this field is not a great spot for the morning at all. Because if you're sitting down here in the morning and them deer, for one, they're gonna be out in this field eating. You're gonna blow them out. But if they decide to run back towards that hillside and the thermals rise, it's gonna pull it right up that hill and they're gonna have you pegged. So this spot is kind of, if you get in here too early, you're screwed. And if you get in here too late, you're screwed, because they're gonna be coming down this hill. So it's kind of a sweet spot. You kind of have to wait for the thermals to get ready to switch. That way when you sit up and get in your stand, the thermal switch, you can feel that cold air come down the hill, and you got it made. See, here's a hill back here, and there's a hill over here. So you're kind of in a giant bowl. And it's kind of like stadium bedding, yeah, from the terms I found with the stadium bedding. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant these seeds here. I got nothing special, you guys. Didn't spend a lot of money. I went over to Tractor Supply and got this big time Main Event. And you always look at your seed dates, guys. For my area, it says the optimal plant date is between August 15th and September 30th. So today's August 26th, kind of hit it right in the middle. And we're gonna see how this stuff does. I'll give you an update once it gets popped up here. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the plant, guys. I'll have you guys a little time lapse. All right, everybody, the trail camera is hung and the seeds have been planted or dispersed. One thing I want to kind of put in perspective is the spots of the field that if you're ever wondering where deer are feeding the most, how do you figure out browse pressure and correlate it to where they're coming out or where they're spending most of their time? Now, in this field here, I do have quite a bit of years of experience on where these deer are coming out at. Hence the path that I created here. But if you look down this field edge behind me, you got some spots that are shaded, okay? But this corner where I'm at right now is shaded first thing in the morning. It's the last spot the sun hits, and it is the first spot of shade in the afternoon, because the sun is going to set on this side of the hill or this side of the field, and these trees right here are going to shade this corner. Now, how do you know what browse pressure looks like, at least for beans and corn? Okay, I'm going to show you guys. Browse pressure on beans, you're going to look at the field and you're going to find out what spot is the lowest. Almost looks like it didn't get enough nutrition. But if you walk up on those spots, and for one, you can see deer tracks coming out of here. Looks like a cow path. But if you start taking notice of some of these plants that don't look like they're growing right, it's not the fact that they're not grown right. They're being topped off or nipped off by deer, and I'll show you what that means. Here is a prime example of what browse pressure looks like on beans. If you look at these beans here, you had all these beans that have been nipped off all the way down this row. And if you look throughout the field, this spot here looks like it didn't get enough nutrients all the way out through here. When in reality, all these beans have been topped off or nipped off by these deer. That's what a bean plant is supposed to look like. It's not at full maturity, but that's what it looks like when they've been nipped off. So if you look at a field that you've never hunted before, say you got private access to a bean field or ag, or you have some public land that does have ag on it, which you're going to find a lot, at least here in Ohio, Indiana, stuff like that. You're going to look at the spots in the field, and you can do this from the road if you have enough vantage point. Spots in the field where it looks like somebody took a mower to it, or it didn't grow as good. go to that spot in the field, mark a pin on it, and take a look. You're going to find that 9 times out of 10, that's browse pressure. And if you look at where the sun sets or comes up, you're going to see that that's probably going to be the shadiest spot in the field. Deer are a lot like us, guys. They do not like to sit in the sun all day long and bake. So they're going to find the shade tree or the shaded spot in the field to go get them a snack. It's like us eating an AC to them. With all that being said, I just want to make sure I'm giving everybody enough tips to where they go into a new spot that has ag and they're able to get a little bit extra intel through the sign that they see in just the ag field, not physical deer tracks. If you go to that low spot in the field, find out that these beans have been nipped off, find the path they're coming out of, that might be a good time to do an observation sit on the other side of the field to look at that spot. And I guarantee you that's probably going to be the first spot that them deer are going to pop out on if they haven't been boogered up in that spot. Now keep in mind, if somebody else sees the same thing you did and went and sat in that spot 5 days in a row before you got there, may change the game a little bit. But if you find some of these secluded fields, or heck, even ones next to the road that people are overlooking, a lot of times people think, oh, everybody's probably hit that field and everybody's avoiding it. Well, if you go in there and try, you might get it done. Also, in spots with no ag and you're just going out and looking, like this past video Jeffrey and I did with the scouting, we found all those stinging nettles. Turns out deer actually eat them. We got into a spot that was close to what we feel is a deer's bedroom in Oxbow Creek that we didn't film, unfortunately, but all these stinging nettles and briars were nipped off. And that is an example of cover forage that these deer are eating right around their bed before they head out to these primary food sources or secondary food sources like ag fields or their white oak tree on the other side of the ridge, or where they're eating or bedding at. These deer during the summer are going to be pretty close to their food source, or have a food source that they can forage near their bed so they don't have to move. There's been a couple studies where these deer move no more than 70 to 100 yards during the day because they're able to feed. Now they're ruminant creatures, so that means that they regurgitate their food after they forage on it. They go select the greenest, most nutritious food source. They eat it, they walk back to their beds, they regurgitate it up, and they feed on it, just like a cow does. That's called being ruminant. But that's why you're going to see these deer hurry up and go get some food, come back to their bed, because they're going to go to their safest spot and their safety, where their cover is, to actually digest their food, because they have, I think, a 3-chamber stomach to where they're actually able to digest it slowly and regurgitate it up and eat it. But yeah, that's just a little update on the food plots. I'll post some pictures of this trail camera, whatever it gets throughout the year. I'll integrate it in some videos or on our Facebook page, or maybe even some shorts, but on YouTube. But I just want to give everybody an update. Don't be afraid to plant near a road that you're going to be hunting. Utilize screen crops. Summertime switchgrasses or Egyptian switchgrasses that get 8 to 10 feet tall is a perfect way. This field here, the farmer, I made a deal with him. As long as I keep the field looking decent, I'm allowed to do whatever I want with it. So I'm not going to come in here and put switchgrass in it and make it look like it's abandoned. I utilized some field corn on that side of the field there. That way people think it's just a normal cornfield, but it encapsulates this smaller food plot, which it's a kill plot. It's probably about 2.5 acres of beans and peas. And I planted the first quarter of this field next to where I'm going to be setting up and where these deer are coming out with the radishes and sugar beets, because I'm going to put the most sought after food source closest to where I want to kill the deer. That way I'm not screwing myself over in the long run and plant it 3/4 way out in this field and I have a 90-yard shot. I'm not a long distance shooter. 40 yards is where I feel comfortable at, and that's where I'm going to plant my food to kind of accommodate that. So if you guys have any questions or any tips, that anything I might have missed or something that might help us up our game as far as food plots, please leave a comment in the comment section. Or if you guys have any questions on what we do or any kind of equipment we use, because by no means are we rich, guys. We have like a 1940 or 50s John Deere corn planter. I'm using a bag seed spreader, using a 4.5 foot till on the back of a 1930s or 40s tractor You don't have to have a lot of money to make this happen. I mean, you don't even have to till this stuff up, guys, because if you have a roller and you spread your seed out and roll over top of the tall grass that you got, you're making that greenhouse effect, and all that moisture is staying between the bottom of the grass and the soil, and that humidity, and it's going to have your seeds germinate and pop up through. I know a lot of guys overseed winter wheat or rye during the late fall. That's going to help it kind of pop up through the year, or first thing come up spring. That way it kind of suppresses the weeds. So you can use weeds and that tall grass to suppress other weeds that you don't want, like milkweed or that crabgrass or just anything in general. But get out there, guys, give it a shot. Make a couple hidey hole plots in the middle of the woods, hinge cut, whatever you can do to manipulate the habitat in your favor for deer hunting to kill the buck that you want. Go for it. Once again, I appreciate you guys coming out and watching the videos, supporting us. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking these videos and commenting. We love seeing all the comments. We have some more videos coming out here pretty soon. We're going to be deer hunting a lot. You're going to see us deer hunt quite a bit, and hopefully we get some decent kills on camera, or at least something hilarious, because I like to laugh, and I know a lot of you guys do too. But thanks for watching another episode of GGC Outdoors. Catch you on the next one.